WCLU news coverage of the 2020 general election is brought to you in part by HVAC Services.
Alexa, HVAC repair services, please.
Professional and friendly, great service and great products. If you want HVAC done right, go with HVAC Services.
Home of the same-day guarantee, with heating and cooling coverage on any brand at any time.
Welcome today to our program, Chasity. Of course, you're here today, to talk a little bit about yourself and your candidacy for Glasgow City Council. So first, how are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me this afternoon.
Sure. And we're interested to talk a little bit about a lot of things, I guess, today. But the first thing, for those who may not know you personally or may have not really kind of learned who you are over the last few years that you've been on the council, talk about who you are and how long you've been involved with the Glasgow City Council.
Okay, well, my name is Chasity Lowery. I am in the middle of my third term on the Glasgow City Council. I have been a school teacher for Glasgow Independent Schools for the last 22 years. My husband and I have two children at Glasgow High School. My husband works as a school resource officer now. And my reason for getting involved with the City Council is that Glasgow has been so good to me. I've been here for about 25 years, and it was very welcoming, and it's given me the opportunity to raise my children in a great community, and I wanted to be able to give something back. I wanted my children to have a community that they could be proud of, that they could come home to one day. So that was really the motive that got me into the council 6 years ago.
Sure, and over those 6 years, I know it's kind of been a whirlwind of things going on. So the first question today really is to kind of look at just this term, the last, what will be 2 years in January. So talk about this term. I know you've been kind of influential in different sectors, the Parks and Rec Committee being one of those, and then also being on the Finance Committee, two pretty hefty committees that are dealing with hefty ideas a lot. Just to get your reaction, so what do you think has been some influential topics that you've been involved in?
Really, I think if you look at the last, that this particular term in office, it's been one of great highs and great lows. We see that the parks improvements are taking place. We do some updates at Gorn Park and Twyman Park. We have the momentum coming for the Downtown Park Steering Committee, and it looks like everything is going in such a positive direction. We've got community support, and then COVID-19 takes place. And right before that, we have the loss of LSC. And so the highs turned into the lows as we figure out how the city is going to adjust budget-wise to the changes that have come into place. And so the decisions that bring great celebration and great joy with parks and development have somehow been overshadowed by those difficult decisions that you have to make cuts, and you are faced with the decision of raising taxes in the community. So I think it's been 2 years full of contrast, of great highs and great lows.
Sure, and being, again, a member of the council, the highs and the lows, from a community aspect, looking in to the council, I think sometimes people are unsure about what the process looks like, and then also even in those committee meetings where big ideas are formed before they go to the council. So what would you say now, looking at your entire time with the council, do you think that your entire 6 years has been that way, or is that just the last 2 years, you think?
I think that change is inevitable, and I think when you get into any type of organization that you're going to have those highs and lows. So I think over the course of 6 years there have been shining moments of very positive things moving forward, and there are those that you wish could have had a different outcome, or you wish that you had been able to help more. So I've seen that through all 6 years. I think that the events of the last 6 months have been something that have impacted our community as a whole. No one has been safe from the outfall of COVID, whether it be schools, businesses, families. When I came on the council, a former council member gave me the advice of you would learn a lot in committee, that a lot of discussions goes on in committee that you don't actually see on Mondays in the council. And I found that to be true. A lot of work goes in behind the scenes. Take for the parks, for example, the number of meetings we would have, and then going home to do your homework, making phone calls, trying to figure out what the best use of the city's finances were for different purchases. So there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes that you don't always get to see on Mondays.
So working, talking about some of the rationality of some things moving forward. If you are elected to this office, again, of course, with the reduction happening, there being 9 seats available now, and obviously every incumbent's running beside 2, if I remember correctly. So there is going to be a few that are knocked away from this. But moving ahead, if you are reelected, do you imagine that, for instance, the Parks and Recreation Committee, do you think that committee will continue pursuing the downtown park idea or something in that sector? Or do you see just it being point A again? What do you think the citizenship should know about that?
For me, 2 different committees that we're talking about here. We're talking about the Parks and Rec through the Planning and Development Committee, and then we have the Downtown Steering Committee. Looking into the future, we're hoping to finish up work at American Legion Park, finish up work at Weldon Park. We've got some great things in the works there that we've been going through committee. We appreciate the mayor's support to put money into those parks to move that forward for our children and for the adults in the community. So I see great things coming with the improvement of our parks we have right now. I don't want to see the vision of the Downtown Steering Committee's park die. Do I think that vision has to be a little different? Absolutely. It's one thing for a community to rebound from the loss of a facility like LSC. It's another when you take that loss and you add on to that the COVID experience that we've been living through. So I see the downtown development moving forward at some point, but I don't think it's going to look like the vision that we had back in January and February.
Sure, and I should have clarified there at that point. That was a good point about that. So with Parks and Rec, working on a lot of different issues. I know the city pool has even been a huge topic for you all over the last several months, and moving ahead in those sectors. So again, that's kind of the point there. Hopefully, if you're able to stay on that committee, I imagine that you'll continue to pursue those ideas. And it's not like because there is a new council per se that those ideas die. Is that correct?
Right, and we're a consultant group for Eddie and the Parks group, and he's been great to work with and open to listening to new ideas. And so I think each member of that committee brings a little something different, both generational and passions in terms of the programs that are offered through there. So regardless of the people who are sitting in that group, I hope that they just make choices that make the parks a safer, happier place for adults and children in the community.
Sure. And what would you say, to kind of wrap things up, talking about the citizenship here? Someone's watching this. Some candidates talk about they're inspired to continue pulling in youth to the community or industry. Where do you place yourself about what your motivation is? I know you said giving back, but if you had to say a concrete idea of what you're running on or continuing to run on, what would that idea be?
I think that as a community, we need to look. I know everyone focuses on the big factories and the big jobs that come in, but I think we need to make investment into those small businesses. I think that when you look around the community, there are a lot of great small organizations that are doing things that as a city council and as a city, we need to get behind those folks and bring in some of those options to the community.
Sure. Anything that I didn't ask today that you want to add?
I just want to thank you for taking the time to sit down and talk to me, and knowing that if anyone has any questions for me, you can always call me. Like I said, I always enjoy talking to people and hearing new ideas. So
excellent. Well, we appreciate you coming in today, as always. Of course, we look forward to seeing what happens in November. But until then, good luck.
All right. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Brennan Crane, News Director for WCLU Radio. Thank you for watching this portion of our 2020 election coverage. Visit us at WCLUradio.com and online at Facebook and Twitter for the latest and breaking news updates.